Imagine being taken from your home at age 10. They tell your parents you have been chosen, selected, that you should feel honored. But what they do not tell anyone is that you have a 90% chance of dying before you ever become what they promised. And if you survive, you will become something that is no longer entirely human. Something that knows only war. Something that will fight and kill and die for 300 years until your body finally gives out or an enemy finally lands that killing blow. This is not a story about heroes. This is the absolute nightmare of becoming a space marine in Warhammer 40,000. And trust me, what you are about to discover will shatter everything you thought you knew about the Emperor's finest. Welcome to the worst chapters to be recruited into. The ones where death would be a mercy compared to what they will do to you. You are 10 years old. Maybe 11. Your name is Matthias and you live in the underhive of a forge world called Griffin 4. You have never seen the sun. You have never tasted food that was not recycled corpse starch. You have never known safety or comfort or any of the things that human children should experience. But you are fast. You are strong. You survived 10 years in a place where most children die before their 5th birthday. And that makes you valuable. That makes you a candidate. The recruiters arrive in thunder. Literally. The drop pods slam into the underhive with enough force to crack the foundation. The sound is so loud that your ears ring for hours afterward. They emerge in power armor so massive that they have to duck through doorways built for normal humans. Their armor is the color of dried blood. Deep crimson marked with black trim and symbols you do not understand. The flesh tearers. That is what the adults whisper when they think you cannot hear. One of the Blood Angel's successor chapters. One of the cursed ones. The biggest marine points directly at you with a gauntlet the size of your entire torso. You will come. His voice is processed through his helmet speakers and it sounds like grinding metal. Like the voice of something that used to be human but forgot how. You look at your mother. Her face is thin from malnutrition. Her eyes are tired from 16-hour shifts in the manufactorum. But when the Marine gestures toward you, she steps between you and him. He is just a boy. She says and her voice is shaking. Please. He is all I have. The Marine does not pause. Does not hesitate. His gauntlet closes around your arm and lifts you off the ground like you weigh nothing at all. The Emperor has need of him. You should rejoice that your son will serve. Your mother screams. She grabs at the Marine's arm trying to pull you free. Another Marine moves forward and strikes her. Not hard by his standards. Just a casual backhand. But she flies backward and hits the wall and does not get up. You scream her name. You struggle in the Marine's grip. Your small fists pounding against armor that does not even register the impacts. He carries you to the drop pod and throws you inside with 30 other boys. All of them crying. All of them torn from their families. The door seals and the pod launches and you leave behind everything you have ever known. You will never see your mother again. You will never know if she survived that blow or if the last thing she saw was you being taken away. The fortress monastery of the Flesh Tearers is called the Victus on the world of Cretaceous. A death world where everything wants to kill you. The wildlife consists of creatures that would give experienced soldiers nightmares. Carnosaurs that stand 15 meters tall. Barking toads whose poison can drop a man in seconds. Swarms of insects that can strip flesh from bone in minutes. This is where they bring you to train. To test. To break down and rebuild into something that can serve. The first test happens within hours of arrival. They strip away your clothes and throw you into a pit. You and the 30 other boys who arrived with you. The pit is 10 meters deep with walls too smooth to climb. The floor is covered in mud and something that might be blood. An instructor appears at the edge above you. His armor is the same crimson as the Marines who took you. But his helmet is off and you can see his face. It is wrong. His eyes are too wide. His teeth are too sharp. His skin is pale like something that has been drained. Only 10 of you will leave this pit, he says. The rest will be processed into servitors, or if they are very fortunate, they will die. You have 1 hour. Begin. Nothing happens for maybe 10 seconds. All of you standing there confused and terrified. Then a boy near the back lunges at the one next to him, his hands going for the throat. And suddenly everyone is fighting. Boys as young as 9 trying to kill each other because that is what survival requires now. You are small, but you are quick. You avoid the initial chaos. 3 boys die in the first 5 minutes. Necks broken. Skulls cracked against the pit walls. Their bodies left where they fall. A boy named Christoph tries to organize a group. Maybe if we work together, he shouts. But the others do not listen. A bigger boy rushes him and drives his head into the mud. Holds him under until the struggling stops. You survive by staying at the edges. By only fighting when you have no choice. By making yourself as small and unthreatening as possible. When the hour ends, there are 11 of you still standing. The instructor nods. Acceptable. The weakest among you will be cold during processing. The rest will begin training. The bodies of the dead are dragged away by servitors. You learn later they are rendered into nutrients that will be fed to you during the next meal. Nothing is wasted. Death feeds life. Life feeds death. The cycle continues. Training is not education. It is systematic destruction. They wake you at 3 in the morning with blaring klaxons. You have 5 minutes to dress in the training fatigues they provide. If you are late, you do not eat that day. Breakfast is a protein slurry that tastes like rust and old blood. You force it down because you need the calories. Because the alternative is weakness, and weakness is death. The physical training starts immediately. They run you through the jungle until your legs give out. Then they beat you until you get up and continue running. Carnosaurs hunt in this jungle. The instructors tell you this. Tell you that if you fall behind the group you will be eaten. That your death will serve as motivation for the others. A boy named Peter falls behind on the 3rd day. You hear his screams echoing through the trees. The wet tearing sounds of something large feeding. The instructors do not slow the pace. Do not send anyone back to help. The lesson is clear. Keep up or die. Combat training is worse. They put you in a ring with boys your own age and tell you to fight. No rules. No safety measures. Just violence until one of you cannot continue. You break a boy's arm during your 2nd match. The bone snapping with a sound like a dry branch. He screams and the instructors pull him away. You never see him again. Another boy breaks your nose. Blood streaming down your face mixing with sweat and tears. The instructor watching just nods. Good. Pain teaches better than words. The psychological conditioning begins in week 2. They show you recordings of battles. Space Marines fighting Xenos and heretics and traitors. The violence is overwhelming. Bodies torn apart. Worlds burning. The commentary explains how humanity is surrounded by enemies on all sides. How the Space Marines are all that stands between civilization and extinction. How your suffering now is nothing compared to what awaits if you fail. They show you images of children being torn apart by tyrannids. Of worlds consumed by chaos. Of orcs wearing human skin as trophies. You cannot sleep after watching. The images playing on repeat in your mind. And that is exactly what they want. They want you to understand that mercy is weakness. That hesitation means death. That only through absolute brutality can humanity survive. The mortality rate during training is 60%. 6 out of every 10 boys who begin the process die before they ever receive their first implant. Some die during physical training. Hearts giving out during forced marches that last 48 hours without rest. Some die during combat training. Skulls fractured. Spines broken. Organs ruptured. Some just disappear. Taken away during the night and never mentioned again. You learn not to make friends, not to remember names. Everyone around you is temporary, including yourself. The implantation process begins when you turn 12. If you have survived that long, if you have proven yourself worthy, the first organ they implant is called the secondary heart. They cut open your chest while you are awake. The pain suppressants they give you barely work. You can feel everything. The surgical servitors opening your rib cage. The tech priests installing a second heart next to your original. The sensation of something foreign being placed inside you. Something that will either take or kill you. The rejection rate is 40%. Your body might decide this new organ is an invader. Your immune system might attack it. Your original heart might fail from the stress. You lie on the surgical table for hours after the operation. Fever burning through you. Your chest feeling like it is being torn apart from the inside. Other boys scream in nearby beds. Some of them die screaming. You survive. The secondary heart takes. Within weeks you can feel the difference. Your endurance increasing. Your body processing oxygen more efficiently. But the cost is written in the scar tissue across your chest. A permanent reminder of what has been done to you. The second implant comes a month later. The osmodula. A small organ implanted into your lower intestine that will release hormones to strengthen your skeleton. The surgery is less invasive, but the effects are worse. Your bones begin growing, thickening. The pain is constant. A deep aching that radiates through your entire body. You cannot sleep. Cannot find any position that offers relief. Some boys go mad from it. The constant agony breaking something in their minds. They are taken away, processed into servitors. Their failure complete. The biscopia comes next. An organ that stimulates muscle growth to superhuman levels. They implant it in your chest, and within days you can feel your muscles twitching, growing, reshaping. You eat constantly, consuming twice your body weight in protein every day. Your frame expanding. Your child's body transforming into something that looks like a young man. But the growth is uneven, painful. Your skin stretches, tears in places, heals with thick scar tissue. You look in a mirror one day and do not recognize yourself. The hemostamen is the organ that modifies your blood, makes it more efficient at carrying oxygen and fighting infection. The implantation itself is simple, but the adjustment period is hell. Your blood feels like it is boiling. Fever spikes to levels that should kill you. You hallucinate, seeing things that are not there, hearing voices that do not exist. A boy in the bed next to you starts screaming that the walls are bleeding, that demons are crawling from the ceiling. He tears out his own eyes trying to make the vision stop. The instructors let him bleed out. Another failure. Another warning. The Lehman's organ allows your blood to clot almost instantly. They test it by cutting you. Deep slashes across your arms and legs, watching to see if the wounds seal themselves. Yours do. The blood congealing within seconds, forming a tough membrane that prevents further blood loss. The boy after you in line is not so lucky. His organ fails. The test cuts do not seal. He bleeds out on the examination table while the tech priests take notes on his failure. The catalepsian node is implanted directly into your brain. It allows you to sleep with half your brain at a time, to function for weeks without true rest. The surgery requires them to cut open your skull, to drill into bone and insert the organ into specific brain tissue. You are awake for this. The pain suppressants do not work on brain tissue because brain tissue has no pain receptors. But you can feel the pressure, the violation of having something foreign placed inside your skull. After the surgery, you cannot sleep properly for months. Your brain does not know how to use the new organ. You experience waking dreams, hallucinations that blend with reality. You attack an instructor during one episode, convinced he is a demon. They beat you unconscious and lock you in isolation until your brain adjusts. The preomner is a pre-stomach that allows you to eat almost anything. They test it by feeding you things that would kill a normal human. Toxic plants, poisonous fungi, meat that has rotted to the point of liquefaction. Your new organ processes it all, breaking down toxins, extracting nutrients from materials that should not be food. The boy next to you vomits blood after his test meal, his preomner rejecting. He dies over the course of 3 days as his regular stomach shuts down from the poison still in his system. The homophagia is implanted in your brainstem. It allows you to gain memories and knowledge by eating flesh. They give you a piece of meat during testing. Do not tell you what it is from. You eat it and suddenly have flashes of memory that are not yours. Images of a battlefield. The sensation of dying. The understanding that you just consumed flesh cut from a dead space marine. The purpose is noble, they tell you. To gain tactical knowledge from fallen brothers. But the reality is horrifying. You taste human flesh and gain the memories of its death. Some boys go insane from this. The violation of having foreign memories implanted through consumption breaking their minds. The multi-lung is exactly what it sounds like. A third lung that allows you to breathe toxic atmospheres and even survive underwater for extended periods. The implantation involves opening your chest again, adding another organ to the crowded space inside your ribcage. You can feel all 3 organs working after the surgery. Your original lungs, your secondary heart, your new multi-lung, all of them operating in rhythm. The sensation is alien, wrong. A constant reminder that you are becoming something other than human. The oculobe modifies your eyes, enhances your vision to superhuman levels. They inject it directly into your optic nerve. The pain is indescribable, like someone pushing hot needles through your eyeballs into your brain. Your vision goes dark for days. When it returns, the world looks different. You can see details you never noticed before. Can track movement in your peripheral vision. Can see clearly in near total darkness. But colors look wrong now. Muted. Your brain struggling to process the enhanced input. Some boys never adjust. Their brains unable to handle the increased visual data. They go blind. Or mad. Or both. The lineman's ear enhances your hearing. Allows you to filter out specific sounds. To hear frequencies beyond normal human range. They surgically modify your inner ear. The recovery period involves constant vertigo. Your sense of balance destroyed as your brain learns to process the new input. You cannot walk straight for weeks. Some boys fall and crack their skulls. Some develop infections that spread to their brains. You survive, but the world is never quiet again. You can hear everything. The breathing of people in adjacent rooms. The skittering of insects in the walls. The distant sounds of training 10 levels below. It is maddening until you learn to filter. To selectively ignore the constant barrage of sound. The Susan membrane is implanted in your brain. It allows you to enter a state of suspended animation. To survive wounds that would kill anyone else by shutting down your body and waiting for help. They test it by putting you into suspension. Your consciousness fading. Your body shutting down system by system until you are barely alive. Some boys never wake up. Their membranes activating but failing to deactivate. Their minds lost in whatever dreams exist in that state between life and death. You wake after 48 hours. Confused. Disoriented. Not entirely sure you are alive. The melanochrome modifies your skin. Allows it to adapt to radiation levels that would kill normal humans. They expose you to increasing doses of radiation. Your skin darkening. Thickening. Developing a leathery texture. The process is painful. Your skin feeling like it is burning from the inside out. A boy's melanochrome fails during testing. His skin begins sloughing off in sheets. He dies screaming as his body literally falls apart. The oolytic kidney is a backup kidney that can filter any toxin from your blood. They test it with poison, injecting you with substances that would kill an elephant. Your new kidney processes them, breaks them down, flushes them from your system. But the sensation is horrific. Your body recognizing the poison even as your kidney neutralizes it. You feel like you are dying for hours before the symptoms fade. The neuroglottis allows you to taste chemicals in the air, to analyze substances through taste and smell alone. They implant it in your mouth and suddenly you can taste everything. The metal in the air, the sweat of people around you, the subtle differences in composition between different foods. The world becomes overwhelming. A constant barrage of chemical information that you cannot ignore. Some boys cannot adapt. The sensory overload driving them mad. The mucranoid modifies your sweat glands, allows you to excrete a waxy substance that protects your skin from temperature extremes. They test it by exposing you to heat that should cook you alive. Your skin secretes the protective substance, keeps you alive, but you can feel your body trying to shut down. Your brain screaming that you should be dead. The Becher's gland is implanted in your mouth. It produces a powerful acid that you can spit. They test it by having you spit at metal plates, watching the acid eat through steel. The sensation is wrong. Having a weapon growing in your mouth, tasting acid on your tongue without it burning you. A boy accidentally swallows during his test. His Becher's gland releases acid into his throat. He dies choking on his own dissolved tissue. The progenoid glands are the most important implants. They grow inside your body and mature over years, harvesting genetic material that can be used to create more space marines. You carry 2 of them, one in your neck, one in your chest. They are the legacy organs, the way your genetic line continues even after your death. They tell you that these glands are more important than your life, that dying to protect them is the greatest honor a space marine can achieve. The message is clear. You are not valuable. The organs growing inside you are what matter. The black carapace is the final implant, a layer of neural interface tissue that grows beneath your skin. It allows you to connect directly with power armor, to feel the armor as an extension of your body. The implantation involves injecting the tissue beneath your skin across your entire torso, then waiting for it to grow, to spread. The sensation is like having something crawling beneath your flesh. You can feel it moving, connecting to your nervous system. Some boys go mad from this. The violation of having their bodies invaded from within breaking their minds. By the time the implantation process is complete, you are 16 years old. If you survived, most did not. You began with 30 boys in that drop pod. 3 died during training before implantation even began. Of the 27 who began implantation, only 8 completed the full process. The rest died during surgery, or from rejection, or from going insane. An 88% mortality rate. And you are one of the lucky ones. You look at yourself in a mirror and do not recognize what looks back. You stand 7 feet tall. Your body is a mass of muscle and scar tissue. Your skin is thick and leathery. Your eyes do not look entirely human anymore. You have survived the process. But what survived is not the boy who was taken at age 10. That boy died. What remains is a weapon. A tool designed for killing. A space marine of the Flesh Tearers chapter. But the nightmare is not over. The Flesh Tearers carry a curse. The Red Thirst. The Black Rage. Genetic flaws inherited from their Primarch Sanguinius. The Blood Angels and all their successor chapters suffer from these conditions. The Red Thirst is a constant hunger for blood. A primal urge that makes you want to tear into your enemies with your teeth. To drink their blood. To feast on their flesh. The chapter tries to manage it. To control it through discipline and willpower. But it is always there. A constant presence at the back of your mind. Whispering. Demanding. Growing stronger with each battle. The Black Rage is worse. It is a genetic memory of Sanguinius's death. A psychosis that causes affected Space Marines to believe they are Sanguinius during his final battle against Horus. When the Black Rage takes you, you do not see reality anymore. You see the Siege of Terra. You see Horus. And you attack everything around you in a suicidal rage that only ends when you die. The Flesh Tearers have one of the highest rates of Black Rage among all successor chapters. 1 in 4 Battle Brothers will eventually succumb. When it happens, they are placed in the Death Company, given black armor, and sent into battle one final time. A glorious death rather than a shameful execution. Your first battle happens on a world called Armageddon, an orc invasion that threatens to overrun the planet. You deploy in a drop pod with your squad. The descent is violent, the pod shaking so hard your teeth rattle. The impact when you land drives the breath from your lungs despite your enhanced physiology. The ramp drops and you charge into hell. The orcs are everywhere. Massive green-skinned Xenos that stand over 8 feet tall. They outnumber you 100 to 1. Your training takes over. Your body moving without conscious thought. Your bolt pistol barking. Each shot taking an orc in the head. Your change word screaming as you rev it to life. The first orc you engage swings a crude axe at your head. You duck under the swing and drive your change word into its gut. The blade chewing through thick muscle and organ. Green blood spraying across your armor. The orc dies roaring, still trying to swing its axe even as its intestines spill onto the ground. The red thirst hits you without warning. One moment you are fighting with discipline and control. The next moment something inside you snaps. The blood covering your armor smells incredible. Intoxicating. Your mouth fills with saliva. Your vision tunnels. You find yourself on top of a dead orc. Your helmet torn off though you do not remember removing it. Your teeth buried in its throat. Drinking its foul blood like you are dying of thirst. Some distant part of your brain screams that this is wrong. That you are better than this. But the red thirst does not care. It demands. And you obey. Your squad pulls you off the corpse. Your sergeant backhanding you hard enough to crack your jaw. Control yourself, brother. He snarls. But you can see in his eyes that he understands. That he has felt the same hunger. The same overwhelming need. The Flesh Tearers are dying. Not from enemy action but from their own genetic curse. The chapter loses more Battle Brothers to the Red Thirst and Black Rage than to any Xenos or Heretic. You begin to understand that your time is limited. That eventually the curse will claim you. That you might have 50 years of service. Or 100. Or 200. But eventually you will either die in battle or succumb to the rage. There is no retirement. No peaceful ending. Just blood and death and madness. You serve for 73 years. You fight on 100 worlds. You kill thousands of enemies. Orcs and Tyranids and traitor guardsmen and chaos cultists. You watch brothers die. Some fall to enemy fire. Some succumb to the Black Rage and are sent to the Death Company for their final battle. Some just disappear. Killed by the Red Thirst in moments when it overwhelms their control. You earn honors. Commendations. The respect of your battle brothers. But none of it matters because the curse is always there. Growing stronger. Becoming harder to resist. The Black Rage takes you during a battle against Chaos Space Marines. You are storming a fortress held by the Word Bearers. Your squad fighting room to room. Clearing the structure one section at a time. Then you turn a corner and see him. Horus. The arch-traitor. The one who killed Sanguinius. Of course he is not really Horus. That was 10,000 years ago. This is just a Chaos Marine in Terminator armor. But your brain does not see that. Your genetic memory overrides reality. You see the siege of Terra. You see your father Sanguinius dying. And something inside you breaks. You charge. Your squad screaming for you to stop. The Chaos Marine is not prepared for your assault. You hit him like a freight train. Your power fist punching through his Terminator armor. Your other hand tearing at his helmet. Ripping it free. Your teeth finding his throat. Blood filling your mouth. But it is not enough. It will never be enough. You attack anything that moves. Friend and foe alike. Your own squad having to restrain you. Having to beat you unconscious to stop you from killing them. You wake up in black armor. The armor of the Death Company. You are in a chapel surrounded by chaplains. They explain what happened. That you have succumbed to the Black Rage. That there is no cure. That you will be granted one final battle. A glorious death in service to the Emperor. You try to speak. To explain that you can control it. That you are still yourself. But the words that come out are not yours. You speak in the voice of Sanguinius. Screaming about Horus. About betrayal. About the need for vengeance. And you realize with horror that you are no longer in control. That the genetic memory has consumed you. That the person you were is gone. The Death Company deploys for a mission that is essentially suicide. An assault on a chaos stronghold that conventional forces could never take. You are loaded into a transport with 30 other black armored Marines. All of them lost to the rage. All of them seeing visions of the siege of Terra. The chaplains who oversee the Death Company pray over you, asking the Emperor to grant you a worthy death, to let your sacrifice have meaning. The transport crashes through the stronghold's walls. The ramp drops and you charge into the Chaos Fortress. There is no strategy. No tactics. Just pure rage. You kill everything you see. Chaos cultists torn apart with your bare hands. Traitor Marines dismembered by your change word. You take wounds that should kill you. A bolter round through your chest. A power sword through your stomach. But you do not stop. Cannot stop. The Black Rage keeps you moving. Keeps you fighting long past the point where your body should fail. You fight for hours. The entire Death Company rampaging through the fortress. Killing thousands. Destroying everything. The Chaos Forces retreat before you. Not because you are skilled, but because you are terrifying. Because you fight without fear or hesitation or any regard for your own survival. Because you are already dead and you just have not stopped moving yet. You die in a throne room. A Chaos Lord putting a power axe through your chest. The blade cutting through your black carapace. Through your fused ribcage. Through both your hearts. You fall. Your vision fading. Your life bleeding out onto the floor. In your final moments, clarity returns. The genetic memory releasing you. You see the throne room as it really is. Not the vengeful spirit. Not Horus's flagship. Just a room on a minor chaos world. You died for nothing. Accomplished nothing. Your death is meaningless. But as your consciousness fades, you realize that is true of every death in the Imperium. Meaning is a lie. Purpose is propaganda. You were a weapon that was used until it broke. And now you will be harvested for your progenoid glands. Your genetic material used to create more weapons. The cycle continuing forever. Your body is recovered by your chapter. Your progenoid glands extracted. Your name added to a memorial wall where it will be forgotten in a few decades. The boy who was taken at age 10 from his mother is finally dead at age 89. He never learned if she survived that backhand from the recruiting Marine. Never had a chance to say goodbye. Never experienced anything except war and death and the slow descent into madness that defines service in the flesh tearers. But at least he was one of the lucky ones. At least he served in a chapter that remembers it is fighting for humanity. That tries despite its curse to maintain honor and discipline. There are worse chapters to be recruited into. So much worse. The Marines malevolent do not care about civilians. Their recruiting worlds are death worlds where they take the most violent children they can find. Boys who have killed to survive. Who have no empathy or compassion. The chapter enhances these traits through brutal conditioning. They turn recruits into weapons that will kill anything in their path, enemy or ally. During the Third War for Armageddon, the Marines malevolent fired on their own side. Killed thousands of Imperial Guard soldiers because Orc forces were nearby and civilian casualties were considered acceptable. They bombed a refugee camp because a single Orc was detected in the area. Killed 500,000 civilians. When confronted about it, their chapter master said the Orc was eliminated and therefore the mission was successful. The refugees were irrelevant. Being recruited into the Marines malevolent means becoming something that has abandoned all pretense of fighting for humanity. You become a killer who exists only to destroy. Your chapter has no honor. No loyalty except to its own survival. Other chapters despise the Marines malevolent. Refuse to fight alongside them. But they continue to exist because the Imperium needs bodies. Needs Space Marines regardless of how they conduct themselves. You would serve knowing that everyone hates you. That you fight for a chapter with no honor. That your death will be celebrated by the very people you are supposed to protect. The Carcharodons are even worse. They recruit from prison worlds. From populations of criminals and murderers. Their gene seed is corrupted. Degraded. They show signs of genetic drift that suggests they might not even be fully loyal to the Imperium. Their chapter operates in the void between stars, emerging only to conduct raids, to steal supplies and equipment. They are scavengers and pirates wearing the colors of Space Marines. Being recruited into the Carcharodons means becoming a wanderer. You would never have a home. Never know safety. Your chapter is constantly on the edge of survival. Constantly scraping by with degraded equipment and failing gene seed. You would serve knowing that your chapter is dying. That each generation of recruits is weaker than the last. That eventually the Carcharodons will fade away and nobody will remember they existed. The Black Dragons are mutants. Their gene seed produces additional bone growths. Blades of bone that emerge from their forearms and skulls. The Imperium classifies them as abhumans. Barely tolerated. Always suspected of corruption. Being recruited into the Black Dragons means becoming a freak. A mutant that other chapters view with disgust. You would serve knowing that your own body is evidence of genetic corruption. That the very organs implanted in you are flawed. That at any moment the Inquisition might declare your entire chapter heretical and order your extermination. The sons of Antaeus are impossibly durable. Their Space Marines shrug off wounds that would kill members of any other chapter. But nobody knows why. Their gene seed is mysterious. Possibly corrupted by chaos. Possibly created through forbidden experiments. The Inquisition watches them constantly. Waiting for proof of heresy. Being recruited into the sons of Antaeus means living under constant suspicion. Never knowing if your chapter's gifts come from the Emperor or from the Dark Gods. Never knowing if you will be executed for heresy because your genetic modifications are too effective. The Lamenters might be the most tragic chapter in the Imperium. They are cursed with the worst luck imaginable. Every mission goes wrong. Every battle results in massive casualties. They try harder than any other chapter to protect civilians, and civilians die in droves around them anyway. Being recruited into the Lamenters means joining a chapter that is slowly being ground to extinction. That tries desperately to do good in a universe that punishes goodness. You would watch your battle brothers die for nothing. Would see your chapter's best efforts result in failure. Would serve knowing that you are part of something doomed. That the Lamenters will eventually be destroyed not by enemies but by sheer cosmic malice. But the absolute worst fate is to be recruited into a chapter that falls to chaos. The Sons of Malice. The Crimson Slaughter. Chapters that began loyalist but were corrupted. Being recruited into one of these chapters means your entire purpose is built on a lie. You endure the implantation, the training, the transformation. You become something more than human. And then your chapter falls. Your brothers turn traitor. And you have to choose between dying loyally or becoming a traitor yourself. Most recruits do not survive the transition. They are killed by their own brothers for refusing to worship the Chaos Gods. The ones who accept corruption survive, but they are no longer serving the Emperor. They have become the very thing they were created to destroy. This is the reality of being a Space Marine. Not glory. Not honor. Just transformation into a weapon through a process that kills 90% of recruits. Service in a chapter that might be cursed or mutant or corrupt or just unlucky. Fighting for 100 or 200 or 300 years until you die or go insane or fall to corruption. Never having a family. Never experiencing peace. Never knowing anything except war and death and the slow degradation of everything you were. The propaganda shows heroic warriors saving humanity. The reality is child soldiers transformed into killing machines through a process that destroys their humanity. The propaganda shows loyal servants of the Emperor. The reality is weapons that will be used until they break and then replaced with new weapons made from other stolen children. The propaganda shows the Emperor's finest. The reality is the Emperor's abandoned sons dying in darkness on worlds nobody will remember for causes that stopped mattering centuries ago. You were Matthias once. A 10-year-old boy from the Underhive. You watched your mother die trying to save you. You endured training designed to break your mind. You survived implantation that killed most of your brothers. You served for decades as a Space Marine. You died in a rage seeing visions of events that happened 10,000 years before you were born. And the Imperium will harvest your organs and use them to make another weapon. To take another child and destroy him the same way they destroyed you. The cycle continuing forever. Because the Imperium does not care about individuals. Does not care about suffering or justice or meaning. It only cares about survival. And survival requires weapons. And weapons require children to be stolen and broken and transformed into things that barely remember they were human once. And that is the terrifying reality of Space Marine chapters in Warhammer 40,000. The understanding that becoming the Emperor's finest requires you to stop being human at all. That service means death or madness or corruption. That there are no happy endings. No retirement. No peace. Just war eternal until you finally fall. Until your body gives out or your mind breaks or an enemy gets lucky. Until you become another name on a memorial wall that nobody reads. Another set of genes seed to be harvested and implanted in another stolen child who will suffer exactly as you suffered. The Imperium calls you heroes. Calls you the Emperor's finest. Calls you humanity's greatest defenders. But the truth is simpler and more terrible. You are weapons. Created through a process that kills 9 out of 10 candidates. Maintained through constant warfare. Discarded when you break. The Imperium does not love its Space Marines. It uses them. Consumes them. Replaces them. The same way it consumes and replaces everything else. Your mother died trying to save you from this fate. She knew what you could not understand at age 10. That being chosen was not an honor. It was a death sentence. Maybe not immediate. Maybe not for decades. But certain. Inevitable. You would never come home. Never have a life. Never be anything except a weapon pointed at the Emperor's enemies until you stopped functioning. And somewhere on that forged world right now, another Marine is walking into another Underhive. Looking for another fast, strong child who has survived against impossible odds. Another mother will try to stop them. Another child will be taken. Another life will be destroyed in the name of humanity's survival. The machine continues. The cycle repeats. Forever. Because that is what the Imperium does. It takes its children and breaks them and uses them and throws them away. and calls it glorious, calls it necessary, calls it the only way humanity can survive in the grim darkness of the far future. You were Matthias. You were 10 years old. You wanted to live. And they made you into something that could only die. That is the truth they do not tell you when the recruiters arrive. That is the reality behind the propaganda. That is the horrible fate of every Space Marine in every chapter across the Imperium. From the noblest Ultramarines to the most cursed Lamenters. From the monstrous Marines malevolent to the dying Carcharodons. All of them stolen children. All of them weapons. All of them waiting for the death that defines their existence. And the Imperium calls this salvation. Calls this protection. Calls this the price humanity must pay. And maybe it is. Maybe there is no other way to survive. But that does not make it any less horrible. Does not make the suffering any less real. Does not change the fact that every Space Marine was once a child who deserved better than this. Who deserved a life instead of a death. Who deserved to be human instead of a weapon. And that is the terrifying reality of Space Marine chapters in Warhammer 40K.